All right, welcome to the Fantasy Football Island. I'm Tito, Jeff Thidoff. Follow me on the X at That Happens. He is Chad Rink. Follow him at Chad Ocho Rinko. We are in Fantasy Sports powered by DSP Media. App is free, folks. Apple and Android users, download the app. We've got lots of great content all the time. New shows being added, and you can have us on the go anytime you would like. And Chad, let's get into this right now. I mean, the biggest news: the Browns declining the $22 million fifth-year option on Kenny Pickett. Right, like that's really the big news right now in the NFL. So the draft just happened, and Chad and I go through the rookies and where they landed. Some guys we like, some guys we don't like, as far as where they're ranked at, as far as where they the teams they went to in those situations. So we'll kind of roll through quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, and tight ends. Rink, did you enjoy the draft?
I did. I mean, I was not happy the Bears took a tight end at 10, and
Right.
then they took probably I don't know. Like I said, they're probably about the same, Warren and Loveland, but I really wish they had traded down. I thought the way the draft went was not great for the Bears because a lot of the upper end talent went. So I was hoping they'd trade down, and they probably could have gotten calls because I think there were some people that would wanted Loveland or Warren there. I wouldn't mind trading down, but overall, I was happy with it. I was happy with some of the landing spots, and we'll talk about that for fantasy as well. So overall, I thought it was a good draft. If you're not Shadur Sanders.
So yeah, right. It was a tough draft for Shadur Sanders and Mel Kiper. But as far as the quarterbacks go, like when we talk about, and by the way, we're doing this. We're talking dynasty leagues because we'll get into later on when we get closer to the standard leagues, like the yearly leagues and whatnot. We'll figure out where the rookies rank in there because in those leagues it doesn't matter right now because you're not drafting for those leagues right now. Primarily right now you're doing dynasty leagues. In a couple leagues I'm in, there's a 4-round rookie draft. One of the leagues that we have keepers in, some keepers, there's a 2-round rookie draft. That's what this is going to be geared towards. We're not going to tell you about, we're not going to really worry yet about where guys will shake out when the entire NFL field is open for people to draft. So let's start like when the quarterbacks go. And Chad, I've tried to find a reason to draft other quarterbacks than Cam Ward. And in a dynasty league, I haven't found one that I like that much. I'm not in love with Jackson Dart, who went to the Giants. Tyler Shuck goes to New Orleans. Milroe goes to Seattle. That's got some potential to it. And then, the Gabriel and Shadur stuff, who knows? McCord goes to the Eagles. Will Howard to the Steelers. Is anybody in that, other than Cam Ward, is anybody you're like, you know what? I want to get that guy? Or is it going to be more of a, if that guy's there when I'm on my last pick, I might take him?
Yeah, I think outside of Ward, I'm not touching any of these guys until like the 4. Like if you have a 2-round and you are just one QB, I would probably not touch any of them besides Ward in a 2-round. If you have a 4-round, that 4th round, then I'm looking to see. I wouldn't mind a dart throw on Dart, if you will, just because he has neighbors there. But I tell you the one, and I can't believe I'm saying this. The one that I like the best is your boy from your Steelers, Will Howard, because the competition, like he is, like it's Rudolph, and I can't remember who the other guy is, but it's not great.
It's like Skyler something, right?
Yeah, it is Skyler. That he played for Skyler Thompson. He played for the Dolphins. I don't like Howard's talent, but he can run a little bit. And he's going to be throwing to those targets with Metcalf and Pickens and Freiermuth, and they're going to run the ball a ton, so play action. So those are the only other two. And then maybe like Sanders, like there's so many quarterbacks in that quarterback room right now. It's going to shake out where they're going to end up with 3. Sanders, he might even be the most talented one of that group, but I wouldn't touch anybody else besides those 2. And then like, I mean, if you're deep, or if you're drafting like a brand new dynasty, Quinn Ewers is somewhat interesting because anybody that's if he becomes the number 2 behind Tua, because we all know Tua is a strong wind away from being like concussed. So that's just interesting. But those guys don't have a ton of talent. And really, I really don't even want Ward.
I don't either. I'm with you. Like it's not it's something where um we're in a situation this year, I believe, in dynasty leagues. You don't take one of these quarterbacks unless it's just the value's too good now to pass up. But I'm not going to seek any of them out. As the offseason wore on and after the draft, Ward's gotten so much better, according to everybody. It's like he is. I heard somebody, it might have been on the Dan Patrick show, who said he could be like Mahomes a little bit. And it wouldn't say he was Mahomes, like he has some of those same traits though, and I'm like, okay, that might be a little much, but
Right.
he doesn't have great weapons in Tennessee.
No.
He got what? He's got Ridley. He's got what? Tajay Spears. Is that one of them too?
Yeah,
Is that the
Spears is
guy?
still there, and then Okonkwo, the
Yeah.
tight end. And I think who's the guy they drafted like 3 years ago? The receiver that's always hurt. I think he's still there.
Yeah,
I can't remember
and I
right
know they
now.
drafted a couple receivers, I believe, or at least one receiver in the draft this year.
Yeah.
But still, it's not like though he's got a ton of weapons anyway. But yeah, I'm not gonna like. I'm not going to take Ward unless I'm forced to take Ward because it's just much like maybe it's similar to the Browns taking Sanders, where they took
Yeah.
him just because of the value at that point. You can't. They already had Gabriel, who they drafted on the third round, which was stupid, in itself. But I wouldn't take Ward unless it was like that kind of situation. It's like, oh my God, it's all these people have passed on him. The running backs and receivers I wanted really aren't there. I guess I'll grab Cam Ward. So, it's funny to say that when we're talking about the top quarterback taken in the draft, that he's not somebody we really want.
No, and if you look at it, and again, I don't want to get into the whole Shador Sanders
Sure, yeah,
commentary
yeah,
here, but if there was really only like the Steelers, and then if you told the NFL, all the NFL teams, you can't draft a quarterback this year, I think the Steelers was really the only ones that would be holy crap. I think because I think the Titans could have been okay with left. Like almost everybody else would have been fine. They could have thrown out who they had, and they would feel somewhat
right,
confident. The Steelers was the only one. And if you really need a quarterback, like next year's class is shaping up to be pretty deep and pretty good. So
yeah.
why waste like a second, third, fourth rounder on a backup quarterback if you just know, hey, let's just shore up other spots, get talent, and then if we could, I mean, there's probably gonna be seven. There could be seven quarterbacks go in the first round next year.
The Sanders thing, yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't even know. I mean, because either Sanders or Gabriel, one of them probably won't even make the roster this year.
Right.
They'll probably have to get rid of one of them when it comes to that. But yeah, that's the way the quarterbacks are. But I was so ecstatic with the running back and wide receiver classes and where some of these guys went. That's where it's so deep. That's where, like, if I was in a 4-round rookie draft, I'd much rather be 6 this year or 5 this year. If I'm in a 2-round one, like one of the leagues you and I are in, this is a perfect year to have 3 or 4 rounds. There's so many talented players out there. Genty going to the Raiders. He's probably the number one pick at almost every draft, in every rookie draft, right?
Absolutely. He could not have gone to a better spot. Chip Kelly is running that offense, and when he was head coach, I heard somewhere like that. I don't remember. I had wrote down somewhere. I don't know if I still have it, but his number of carries by the running backs was something ridiculous, like fifth, seventh, 11th, and fourth or something. I mean, they are going to run the ball. They really don't have anybody else, and they're just going to feed the ball. So I love Genty. He should be everybody's 101 this year, whether you are stacked at running back or not. And you could probably, if you're stacked at running back and aren't high on Genty, you could get a haul for the
Oh yeah,
101.
I would think. And then the next 5 running backs that were drafted, I mean, the fifth one could be the highest one of the group. I have no idea, but you got Hampton going to the Chargers, which I like. I like, even though Najee Harris, I like Hampton going there. Judkins to the Browns, I like that one. Henderson to the Patriots, love that one. Harvey to the Broncos, really like that one. And I even like the Caleb Johnson to the Steelers. And out of those 5, which one would you, if I gave you a chance to take one of those 5, which one would you take?
For a dynasty, I would
Yeah,
probably still have Hampton because we know what Najee Harris is,
right.
and at some point Hampton's gonna take the majority of the carries. You know the Chargers and Harbaugh are going to try to run the ball a ton because they just don't have the weapons either. So I think Hampton is one for dynasty. I think if you're really looking like you need help this year, it could be Harvey
Yeah.
because he has nobody. Like, there's nobody that's going to really, you know, challenge him for the carry. So
Terrell
I
Davis
do
isn't
like
walking through that
Harvey.
door.
No, exactly. And then I do like Henderson. I know Stevenson's there. I think Henderson's going to prove. Like, I think with these guys, if you draft some of these guys like Hampton, Henderson, and then with Judkins, I think Harvey's going to probably from the get go get 10, 12 carries. I think with these other guys, you need to maybe be a little patient with them because they probably will ease themselves in. They may split carries the first 3, 4 weeks, but I would hold them to the back half of the year because we've done this long enough to know a lot of these rookie running backs become league winners second half of the year.
They do, right? That's a great point, Chad. It's a great strategy too. Yeah, I think I might like Harvey the most. I do like Caleb Johnson from Iowa, just because Pittsburgh needs somebody like that, and Harris couldn't produce. Johnson's a big back who's got the opportunity to do that. And in that offense, I think they'll still end up signing Aaron Rodgers, but still, the Steelers love to run the ball. They just couldn't run it for more than 3.6 yards a carry with Harris. But the offensive line should be better for them. So I like Johnson. The Henderson Judkins thing, we're both Ohio State guys, and I'm not sure which one's the better situation. Probably Henderson, because there's been fumbling problems there for Stevenson in New England in the past. Now Belichick used to get really pissed off about it, but then they had the 1 year off Belichick and now back to Vrabel. I can't believe Vrabel put up with it either. And I think that Henderson could end up being one of the guys who could end up winning your league for you this year. But we look at the ones after that were taken. Is there anybody that stood out to you as far as an opportunity? Somebody who, if you, and again, it's deep because if you're doing a 4 round draft, there's a lot of receivers out there you can like too. But is there a running back that you think this guy could way overperform where he got drafted?
Yeah, I think there's two. Like I wish Dylan Sampson would have gone somewhere else, but I still
Yeah,
like him
me
in
too.
Cleveland.
Yeah,
But the two I'm really looking at, and I'm not a big Cam Scatabo fan. Like I
right,
like him as just a guy watching football. You gotta love him for what he just does.
right.
But he's in a situation with the Giants because I don't think Tyrone Tracy is going to be ever a 20, 25 carry guy. I think Scatabo is pretty good out of the backfield. They're going to be down a lot, so he could get some. But the guy that I really like is Jaden Blue. Dallas took.
Dallas,
I mean, I was looking for any running back that Dallas drafted. I was going to be interested in just
right.
because Javonte Williams is the only competition, and he's shown he has some flash, but he hasn't done anything, or Denver would have kept him. So I do like Jaden Blue just for the opportunities he could get.
Yeah, I'm with you as far as the Dylan Sampson thing. I think he's a great talent, but Cleveland did it. They draft 2 quarterbacks that could be future starters and 2 running backs that could be future starters. They ended up doing that also. So, but Sampson was somewhere else. I'd certainly like him. The Jaden Blue one's a good call. Another one I'm looking at though, and this is just me being stupid saying this, I guess. But Ollie Gordon going to Miami, the way he did.
Yeah,
Ollie Gordon used to be a really good running back in college. I don't know what the hell
yeah,
happened to him, but at one point, he was the best or one of the best running backs in college football. And
yeah,
in Miami, honestly, if whoever's there now, they're probably hurt, whoever it is, or
right,
Gordon, I think will get an opportunity in Miami because of injuries to the Dolphins, or just inconsistencies, and I don't know if that's good or bad, but I don't know if the Dolphins ever really want a number one back. I don't know if they want like a bunch of number twos and just split the carries up. But as far as talent goes, and there's not anybody really standing in his way,
no.
that's where I see Gordon.
No, he's on my list, and with Mostert out, he's going to be the big back goal line guy because Achan's not. He's just not built that way. Achan could get hurt, and he's not. Achan's not a guy that's going to get more than probably 15 carries in a game, and they like to use him in the passing game. But like I do like Gordon also. Like he's a guy you could probably get last pick because I don't think a
Yeah.
lot of people are probably going to be on him.
And I wonder that if any of these guys are real handcuffs for stud running backs. I don't know if we can I don't know if I feel confident calling any of these later guys handcuffs yet. You can look at
No,
teams that have like Jordan James for San Francisco with all the injury problems they had with McCaffrey, and who knows if he'll ever be the same as he was before the injury. But Jordan James is someone out of Oregon who I think that not necessarily a handcuff, but if I'm a CMC owner, I might take a flyer on him at the very end of the draft.
Well, like they all landed in spots where there's not really a true one. Like if you look at Trevor Etienne at Carolina, like
Yeah,
they don't. Brooks was injured all last year, so who knows what he's going to be.
right.
And but all the rest of the guys didn't really. There's not really a handcuff situation. So I kind of like all of them that to maybe at some point become the RB1.
And then on to keep an eye is Devin Neal out of Kansas, who the Saints took. I
Yeah.
don't know, Alvin Kamara. I don't know, his health status right now. To have finished last year hurt, but Neal is somebody else. Though, if the Saints start going south, and they may end up just doing a thing where getting the rookie some spots to see what he can do as they tank for next year's draft.
True.
All right, let's take a quick break right now. We're going to come back here on the other side. We'll go through wide receivers and tight ends. This is Fantasy Football Island with Tito and Rink right here on Fantasy Sports, powered by DSP Media.
Golfers, IndyCar Tim here. I want to talk to you a little bit about Golf Central Magazine. It's not just a golf magazine. It's the magazine for everything: turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Head over to golfcentralmag.com and check out the latest issue. Some of the regular features in Golf Central Magazine: the Golf Bachelorette of the Month, the Golf Bachelor of the Month, the Golf Cart Girl of the Month, Golf History, Grip It and Sip It. So head over to golfcentralmag.com. It's free. It's the magazine for everything: turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Golf Central Magazine at golfcentralmag.com. We'll see you there. Today's show is brought to you by Tomstown, a premier craft distillery based in Kansas City, Missouri. Discover their award-winning lineup, including double oaked bourbon, botanical gin, and double grain vodka, named the best craft vodka by the readers of USA Today. Available for online delivery in 40 states. Visit toms-town.com or their Kansas City distillery to explore more. Elevate your game with Tomstown, where history meets innovation. Please enjoy responsibly.
JP here for the Jeeves Law Group and my man Scott Jeeves. If you're going to hire an attorney, do you want some guy looking for a quick settlement and a quick buck, or do you want an attorney with some chops? Scott is a board-certified civil trial lawyer and a certified circuit court mediator. Been practicing in the Tampa Bay area for over 30 years. He is a peer-reviewed AV preeminent-rated civil trial lawyer. They just don't hand out those classifications. He's been the lead class action counsel on many complex consumer protection cases and has handled hundreds of serious personal injury cases. He's dedicated his career to protecting injured victims and is committed to vigorously representing you. We're local, we're trusted, and we get results. Personal injury and personal attention. Call for a free case evaluation. That's 888-9-JEEVES. That's 888-9-JEEVES. The Jeeves Law Group.
Hello, folks. Let's talk a little bit about turf life. And what is turf life? It's pretty much if your life involves turf in any way, shape, or form, you live the turf life. Go ahead and brand yourself with the turf life. Maybe a back window decal, maybe a hat. You know where you can get those kinds of things? To showcase that your life revolves around sports and or anything that involves sports. If it's a sports business or sports education or just your enjoyment of the outdoors, head over to turflifeclub.com. Become a turf head. Join the club today. You can do that by going to that said website that I just told you to go to. You can snag your window decal like I was talking about, or any of your other turf life accessories. Show everybody that you live the turf life, and we'll see you there over there at that turflifeclub.com.
Orion Golf Management Solutions. Orion Management Solutions has tailored its service packages just like it tailors its approach to customers. Some owners need more supervision, while others need periodic assessment of their short-term and long-term strategies and programs. Orion can be called in to develop a business plan with the existing staff, or we can assist with the daily management of a facility or event. Either way, we make sure the client is satisfied and understands the direction the facility needs to go in order to achieve the owner's goals. Orion Management Solutions can help with owner assistance service solutions, daily course management, business plan development, monthly operations, or as-needed consulting services. Whatever your need, Orion Golf Management Solutions can help. Check out oriongolf.com.
Let's go!
Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
Here we are. We're back on Fantasy Football Island. Tito, Chad Rink with you here, talking fantasy football after the NFL draft. We're on Fantasy Sports, powered by DSP Media. And we've done the quarterbacks and running backs now, Chad. And now we're going to the wide receivers. And this is another deep class. The running backs and receivers class are so incredibly deep this year. There's going to be a lot of guys that don't get drafted in Dynasty that you will be targeting in regular drafts. And so The first one off the board was Tet McMillan, the kid out of Arizona who Carolina took. And I think this guy's a freak. I love him. I really do love him. It sounds weird saying I call another man a freak and say I love him, but he's big, he's fast, he can get those 50-50 balls. And the way Bryce Young finished last year, his last 3 games, he was really damn good when he came back after being benched. And this could be, I think he might be the number 1 receiver in this class this year.
Yeah. I love the landing spot. I know you're talking about Bryce Young, but I think you just traded him in our league, so that's how much you love him.
Because I got to keep Jalen Hurts. That's why.
Oh, I know.
I keep one.
That's a whole different thing, right? No, I love the landing spot. He's going to help Young out a lot, and they did not have a true one, and so I think Tet McMillan is probably going to lead the rookie class of wide receivers in targets, just because I think everyone else's situation. There's already number 1. There may be like a slot guy, but I love Tet McMillan. He would be my first receiver off the board. He's probably the 102 for me behind Jesse.
Yeah, I think he's definitely up there. And then the next one, though, was a bit of a head scratcher because I did not think Tampa Bay would take a receiver with their first pick, especially when you got Mike Evans. And I know Mike Evans is getting old. Godwin's coming off an injury. And they had the rookie last year, right, who did really well. I'm trying to think what.
McMillan.
Yeah, McMillan's the one who came on strong. They had some decent games after Godwin went down. But Ibuka's in a great spot there. He's not going to be expected unless Godwin's really not going to recover in time. Then they may lean on Ibuka quite a bit early on. But if Godwin's ready to play when the season starts, they're going to ease Ibuka into that role. But he's the most NFL ready receiver, I think, in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, it was weird hearing that the Bucks took him. I still like it for right now. I mean, Baker's not young, but he's still not ancient, so he's got a few years there. And I really like it because if you really think about with the Bucks, if Godwin's healthy, Godwin's best coming out of the slot.
Yeah.
And then Ibuka, dude, he can be huge on the other side of Evans with Godwin in the slot. I still think, like you said, he is the most NFL ready. So the only thing is he's got a lot of targets that are going to be spread around to everybody. So again, it's going to be one of those things where dynasty, I like him long term with the age of Evans and just Godwin's health. But I would temper my expectations of what he's going to do. So if you get Mbuka, and you might be able to get him mid, because I think there's going to be a couple running backs and I think a couple wide receivers that go ahead of him. But I think he's probably going to fall in that 5-6 range in a rookie draft. And just know when you get him, it's just more for depth and in future, I think.
This all goes back to, Chad, it's probably a good time to bring this up, is that, if you're drafting locally with friends that are in this league, and you've been in the league together, depending on where you're at, you might someone's going to overdraft Ibuka probably. Like we're in Columbus, Ohio, so there will be somebody who will probably draft Ibuka earlier than if you're say down in Texas or something doing a draft. You wouldn't maybe not take him as high. But okay, so now I'm curious about this. With you got obviously Tet going first, and then you've got Ibuka. There was the next one. Do the additions of those guys? Does it bump Mayfield and Bryce Young up in your rankings, you think? Do you think, I know we haven't done our season, like our ranking winning season yet, but do you think that would increase their value that much? Or do you think you'll probably have them about the same spot you would have had before the draft?
I think Baker's about the same. Because I just don't think Ibuka is going to, they're not going to throw more now that they have Ibuka. He just gives them another weapon. I think Young was probably, for me, a borderline QB1 if you have in a 12 team. Like he's sitting there and I think Tet giving him that true one big receiver is going to help out, especially if they can get any kind of run game going. So I think Young, it could bump him up, but it's not going to. It's not going to move him from 14 to 9. I mean, it's maybe a couple spots just depending on other quarterback situations.
And then you go to the next one is Matthew Golden from Texas going to Green Bay. Great moment there in Green Bay when the announcement came out, and he was very excited to be there. And the Packers were very excited to have their first round wide receiver drafted since 2002, just to stick at Aaron Rodgers even more, which is exactly what they did there. But there's a lot of mouths to feed there in Green Bay, but it feels like Golden's the most talented of the bunch.
I think so, and it was interesting that they went wide receiver with the wide receiver room they had with Reed and Wicks and Watson and Dobbs is there too. So, but I think you're right. I think Golden probably may have the most talent, and he's just a Christian Watson injury away from just stealing the job. He may take it anyways because we know
Right.
Watson has pretty poor hands as well. So he's got the dropsy. So I do like Golden as well, just because that offense, they know how to move the ball. They're young, and like I said, I think he'll move in to be a starter pretty quickly.
Then the next group kind of bunched together. Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State goes to the Texans. Luther Burton to the Bears and Trey Harris to the Chargers. Out of those three, is there one you like more than the other two?
Uh, that group, it's really weird. Those guys, I think, are more again long term. I think Trey Harris may see the most targets just because he's probably going to be the two,
Right.
or he might be in the slot with McConkey. And you just never know with Quentin Johnston. So he could get it. I think Higgins could be the most talented of them all. But they also drafted, and we'll talk about Dylan Noel later, his teammate in college. So, but Burden, don't sleep on Burden. I know they got, now they got two tight ends. They've got more. They've got Adunze they drafted last year. But I think Burden could end up at some point. The Bears, when they move off of DJ Moore, could end up being their number one, even over Adunze.
Yeah, I wonder about Odunze because that's the first thing I thought of. I saw they drafted Bird. They used a second round pick on a receiver, and they used a high pick last year on Odunze. So, and he had a pretty quiet year last year, I think, for the most part. But part of that was because Caleb Williams got sacked so much. The offensive line was nothing but just holes everywhere in that offensive line. But yeah, so I think I would go Harris. Higgins, Burden is how I would rank them. Just I think Harris will get the biggest volume. Higgins, I know the Texans are dealing with injuries right now in the wide receiver room still, and they lost Stephon Diggs, or let Stephon Diggs go, whatever you want to call it. But so we can get some targets there in that Houston offense as well. Then we go to the next group. The Raiders took Jack Beck. You had Kyle Williams, who went to New England, and Williams out of Washington State. I've liked him quite a bit, but it feels like the Raiders got a lot of targets to offer Beck.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I think they drafted Dante Thornton the third. I think he is. I don't think he's a junior. I think he's a third. They drafted him later, and I think he could end up being a sleeper uh, for that offense, being the number two to Bowers. With Beck, I just don't know. Like Gino, I don't know how much they're going to really throw the ball with Gentry there too, but I like Dante Thornton. I think more than Beck. Uh, Kai Williams is in a good spot because it's really him and Diggs. Diggs is a little bit older.
Yeah.
So if he and May can kind of get on the same page, it could be a nice duo for the next 4 or 5 years as well.
It's interesting, about the Texas draft, the two guys from Iowa State, teammates. I'm not sure if that's smart, if that was planned, if they like, what, we really want to get a couple guys that have played together. Could be the case. I'm not sure, but they both go into a great situation with C.J. Stroud there at quarterback. The Packers also taking two receivers. They took Williams out of TCU in the third round. So they took a receiver in the first round, in the third round. We already talked about their loaded wide receiver room. I mean, someone's going to get left out of that group.
Yeah, it's just so weird because like, their defense was fine, but you think they would have been looking other spots. Maybe, I mean, maybe they like the kid they got at running back last year. They got hurt to back up Jacobs because Jacobs really had no backup last year. So it's why they didn't go grab one of these running backs. But that wide receiver room is so crowded now. And Wicks really looked good, and he didn't get a ton of run a lot of times because of Dobbs and Watson and Reed. So I don't know what's going on unless they decide, hey, we're going to maybe move some guys. But it's really weird that they went two wide receivers in the first 3 rounds.
Yeah, we had other teams do it and granted, Tampa Bay took one in the seventh round, Tez Johnson out of Oregon, but the one that I'm wondering about is Jordan Watkins at San Francisco, who went out of Ole Miss going to the 49ers, and they obviously have some targets there that are open right now in San Francisco. He might be a sneaky kind of guy to grab as well.
Yeah, I mean, I know they're like Pearsall there, and they still have I think they still have Jennings as well. So I mean, anyone in that offense, if you get anybody in an offense like that, you always want to take a little flyer on it because they could pan out with injuries, and that team's gonna be able to move the ball and score. So yeah, I like him in San Francisco. And then there's always Jalen Royals to the
Kansas City. Got to mention the Kansas City receiver.
Anytime it's always Eddie Kansas, like he's going to get overdrafted. He's because Sky Moores and the Worthies and stuff. But anytime you get a young receiver in that kind of offense, you always why not take a flyer?
Sure. By the way, just to clear, it's Dante Johnson Jr., Jimmy Horn Jr., and then it was Ricky White the third went to the Seahawks. So just so if anyone's doing the family tree stuff while we're doing this, fantasy family tree, if you're doing that, we want to share that cleared up for you, or bingo card, whatever you want to call it. We can do that as well. All right, let's close things out today talking about tight ends. It's funny, I like more tight ends than I do quarterbacks. I don't think it's ever happened in any draft, traditional draft, or in a dynasty, whatever. But they went in a different order than the most mock drafts had. Warren goes to the Colts at 14, but right before that at 10, Colson Loveland goes to your Bears. Which situation do you like more?
I like Loveland's situation more because number one, the coach,
right?
Number two, the quarterback, and I think the Bears are at this point better than the Colts. So I like Loveland's situation better this year, and I think even long term. So, but those are the top two. There's a couple more that I really like, but those two guys I think are going to may both be late first round picks, but they're definitely going to be late first, early second.
And Loveland and Tyler Warren both right now should be sending out thank you cards and maybe like a gift card to Brock Bowers. Because if not for Brock Bowers, we've seen a lot of tight ends fail in the first rounds in recent years. Now, Laporte has been more the exception. What Hawkinson also, but Kyle Pitts has been a disaster in Atlanta. And so the fact that Bowers did what he did makes it possible for guys like Loveland and Warren to get drafted where they did. And I'm with you. Look, I benefited in our league with Bowers having him, and that was great for me all season. Do you think either of these guys will even come close to what Bowers did?
No, I don't think
so
I don't think the Colts are going to score enough, and they're going to rely on JT running the ball. And you got Danny Dimes and Richardson. So Richardson's going to take some. If he gets the job, he's going to run the ball a little bit. Both can turn the ball over. And then with the Bears, I just think with the Bears, there's it's weird to say that there's so many offensive ways they can go with Swift.
Right.
Now they've got 5 options to throw to.
Right.
So I just don't think Loveland's going to get as many targets that would get him to the Bowers level. I still think he's going to probably outperform Kmet. And they may even throw him in the slot sometimes as well. So, but if he got 50 receptions, that's probably where his ceiling is. And there's only so much you can do at 50 unless you're catching a touchdown every 4 catches.
In one of the dynasty leagues that I won last year, my tight end was Travis Kelce. I had Johnny Smith as my backup. So I'm picking 10th in that 10-team league. I may end up having to target one of these guys just to get somebody in there. I don't know about Smith, and if you're in a dynasty league like that, there's not a lot of good tight ends that people cut. And so I may have to draft one of these guys over a running back or receiver I like, just because I need to fill that void, because you can't count on Kelce long term at all. And Smith was great last year, but who the hell knows with the Dolphins?
Right, exactly, and that's what you got to think of when you're. I really like if you're in the top 5 in a rookie draft. Like I'm in the one that we're in. It's a 12 team, and I'm sitting at 11, and I'm not gonna be able to move up. I don't want to move up. I know the commission has already reached out to me. He's probably gonna listen to this about moving. I'm probably looking to move down and try to get more, just because I think when you get to that 8 to 12, 13, it's kind of all the same. So when you're in that situation, might as well grab a young tight end that could, anchor that spot for you for the next 8 to 10 years, and then maybe take more of a flyer on a running back receiver, because more than likely you can trade for one, pick up one, or most every draft you're going to have quality receivers and running backs, and not always having like stud tight ends.
And that's the thing where if you got like in our league, like we talk about one of the teams, the Temple of Doom's got like 4 second-round picks, which is great.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like in this draft, we're in a 12-team league, right? Yeah. And in this draft, you can get a ton of value in the second round of a 12-team league if you've got plenty of, like you would say, darts to throw. You can certainly grab somebody there and get a lot of value there. Now, as far as other tight ends go, Taylor of LSU went to the Jets. That could be interesting. Terrence Ferguson went to the Rams, another one. Arroyo goes to the Seahawks from Miami. And then Harold Fannin Jr., the Bowling Green guy who was the leading tight end as far as receptions go, I believe, in the country this past season. He went to the Browns in the 3rd round with the 3rd pick of the 3rd round. And they've got Njoku there. So, but Fannin I like his talent. It's another thing where I wish he went to a different situation, though.
Yeah, I mean, and overall, I love the Browns draft. I thought they drafted great, and I think they're looking at, listen, we need some future stuff, get some piece on offense. Like, and Njoku's like 28, so I mean, he's been fine. But most teams are going to run 2 tight end sets a lot. You need depth, so I do like him. Again, I just don't know with the quarterback situation. You do not know what that target situation to look at, but they don't have a stud receivers there. So I think both those tight ends could be viable. And the other one I like, I just, the Rams could be interesting, but I just think they've got I think it's Kyron Williams show when he gets to the goal line. And then with the Jets, like, I don't know, outside of Garrett Wilson, I don't think they're going to throw a ton. So I think Garrett Wilson is probably going to end up with about 150, 175 targets.
Right.
And then it's just, I think any tight end there's probably going to be 3 to 4 targets a game, and there's not much you're going to do there. I do like Arroyo though for Seattle, because I think they've been trying to find a tight end there for years, and I think they're done with Fant. So I think Arroyo could be kind of sneaky. Again, they've got a plethora of talent there too with wide receivers, and they got 2 running backs too. But I do like Arroyo. So him and Fannin would be the other 2 that I really like. I wouldn't mind taking a shot at late.
Yeah, I like Arroyo too. He had injuries a couple years straight on that right there. But last year he averaged almost 17 yards a catch at Miami, and he's 6'5", 250. It's funny, like I talked about this before, with a Jets tight end. I always think of Kyle Brady. Then I get a little concerned. A Miami tight end, Hurricanes. I always started thinking about Shockey, who was decent for a while, I guess. And then Winslow, though, who obviously had his other issues. Like, it's hard for me sometimes to differentiate the player from either the team he's going to or the school, because I may have been burned before.
Right.
Which is such an amateur fantasy football thing to say. To say I'm not picking that guy. Why? Because Kyle Brady. That's why.
That was 25 years ago.
Right. I know. I hold fantasy grudges. That's what I do. I hold grudges against certain players and certain teams and certain positions of players from certain teams and on certain teams. And it's petty, but you know what? That's what I do. I'm fine with doing that. I'll let guys slide to draft if I don't like them.
Exactly.
I'd rather have Derek Mason from the Titans. I'd rather draft him than Shadur Sanders this year.
It's crazy. So
do you have a fantasy football? Like, do you have like if you could put the first person to put in the Chad Rink Fantasy Hall of Fame, who would it be?
Oh, the first person in the Hall of Fame.
If you had off your initial class, give me the first player that you drafted that made you so happy, and you either held on to for the Dynasty League or just won a championship for you, and you'll never ever let that person get away, and you want him in your Hall of Fame.
I tell you a funny story. I didn't win it this year,
right?
But it was a Tom Hanks draft, like the theme draft. So it had to be a Tom Hanks thing. So my whole point, it was going to be, all right, I'm going to be Garoppolo 13. I'm going to take Jimmy Garoppolo as my second quarterback.
Right.
Well, the one guy, my buddy Mike, took him, and so I had to come up with a different name, and then I ended up having to settle for Mahomes the first year he started. So I was like really the first guy to take Mahomes in that draft.
Yeah.
I've loved Randy Moss. Like Barry Sanders would be like the guy, because I drafted him. That's how long ago we've been drafted. I drafted him every year. and I would just make it a point, and I just loved him. And so it would be Barry Sanders, and then I think probably Warren Moon because he was my very first overall pick, and then of course Rodrigo Blankenship.
Well, of course, the kicker. You got the kicker on that one. Yes, you
That's
do.
that's part of the Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
Need those three for sure. And then I'd have to there's been so many where it's just like when I won, but it was more like a team effort. It's usually like the one year when Todd Gurley went nuts, I had him, but the rest of my team was just bad. So it's always kind of really been just like I just had a solid team and not one guy really carried me.
Right.
So I just like I think probably Randy Moss. I love Randy Moss, and I drafted him in that Cincinnati league when he was still at Marshall. Just like I know I'm not getting any points. I can't start him. I can't use him. I just want you all to know I'm on Randy Moss from the get go.
Right. I think for me, first Brian cited my first pick in 1980. That'd probably be the first one in there. Derek Mason, because Con and I in this league we were in together, my buddy, and we would get him every year, and we won like 3 championships or 3 in a row, or maybe it was even 4 out of 5. We rolled over people. We always loved Derek Mason. He was a guy. The way that format's set up, it was like categories where receptions was a category you tried to win. And Mason was great for that. He was awesome for that. And then Ryan Grant, because in this other league I was in, when we didn't have a waiver order, it was you called the commissioner and said, I want to pick this guy up, and this is I'm going to drop. If you're the first one to call, that's what you could do. Now, I was the first one to take Ryan Grant when he went in for the Packers. I can remember, but then he cost me also because they needed like 3 more yards for him against the Bears in that Monday night game, end of the season. He didn't get it, but I didn't win it. But nonetheless, I had Ryan Grant for several years, and he was a good producer for me. And then as far as the fourth one goes, I mean, I don't know if I have a fourth one. I'm trying to think if there's somebody who I used to, because we always loved Mason. There's been the one league where like I was going to cut a couple people no matter what. I still took Derek Mason even though he retired, just as a ceremonial thing.
No Steeler. I'm trying
to think if I have a Steeler in there, but I never really used a Steeler that did that much for me. And usually I had to overdraft, or I didn't have to overdraft. Usually if I took a Steeler, I was overdrafting him typically, but I can't think of somebody who I grabbed. I did have Le'Veon Bell when he was big, so maybe that'd be the one who would go there until he went crazy. Speaking of crazy, the crazy Deontay Johnson signed with the Browns, which is hard to believe. No fantasy value whatsoever. He's been garbage ever since he called the Steelers out.
No, we need to. I don't know who we need to call, but we need to call whoever and say the Browns have to be on Hard Knocks. Like, how do you not have the Browns on Hard Knocks? That's just got to be.
Yeah, they got to do it. So, all right, that's it for us tonight. Thanks so much for tuning in. Again, I'm at That Happens, Jeff Tito Thidoff. He's Chad Rink, at Chad Ochorinco. Follow us on Twitter. Download the app. It's free for Apple and Android users. Fantasy Sports, powered by DSP Media. We'll do it again soon here, Rink. Have a great night, bud.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, sir.